10 Steps on How to Become a Successful Photographer, Part 3. Hi, I'm Joel Grimes with the Joel Grimes Academy, and we're talking about 10 steps on how to become a successful photographer, and we are in Part 3. So we are on number 7, which is human behavior is very predictable. So let me just kind of tell you what this means to me. Now, when I started out in photography, I wanted to learn photography, right? I went to my photography classes. I had to take other classes too, but I had a mindset that if I could become a really good photographer, I'd be very successful. Well, that's all been shattered. We've talked about some of those already. One of the things I never really thought about is this whole human behavior thing. Well, we've talked already about my human behavior a little bit, but let's talk about the human behavior of the person you're trying to pitch. So I'm nervous when it comes to making a cold call, and even if someone hands me a note that kind of paves the way, said, here's a friend of mine who's an art director who works at an ad agency or a photo editor at a photo magazine, and they're looking for a photographer, and you'd be perfect for this job. Even then, when I make that phone call, I'm nervous. And why am I nervous? Because I don't want to make a fool of myself. I don't want to fumble and sound like an idiot. So and sometimes when I get so nervous, I sound like an idiot. So it's very difficult to make cold calls. But I want you to think about something else. The person you're pitching. Understanding who they are, their human behavior, is going to serve you very well. So let me explain. So let's say you're pitching an art director. You make that phone call. You get them on the phone. And you give your little spiel. Hey, I'm Joel Grimes. I'm a photographer. I'd like to come in and show my portfolio and find out what kind of needs you have in photography. And they give you the brush off. Oh, I'm really busy right now. Come on, just quit bugging me. And maybe they're really rude about it. Well, that doesn't feel good. And you go, I'm never calling that person back. But I want you to put yourself in their shoes. Here's what's going on. Number one, they have a boss with major demands. They have budgets. Limitations. They have deadlines. They're in a hurry. They have a crisis. In fact, almost every job, they're probably in some kind of crisis. We need a photographer. We need this going. They're trying to get it all put together. So their life is in turmoil. You make a phone call, and they're not in the mood to be talking. They may, outside of their job, they have a home life or a life, right? There's a lot of things going to happen in that person's life. You make the phone call, and they're not too happy to talk to you. They're kind of rude. So here's what I've learned. When I go and make that phone call, the chances are they're not going to be too happy to talk to me. But I have this one thought in my mind. My job is to save them and make their life a lot easier, to rescue them, to make sure that if I participate in whatever they're doing, it's going to make it easier for them. That's my role. And so when someone's in a hurry and they're in a crisis, whatever, I present myself with, guess what? I'm here to help you. I'm here to make your life a lot easier. And if they're rude to me, I don't get hurt by it. Because I know the next time I call, I'm going to go and make that pitch to help them in their life and make their life easier. So understanding human behavior has served me very well. And so here's one little tip I'm going to give you that will blow your mind. Some of the rudest people I've ever met on the very first initial phone call, or that I've talked to, ended up becoming great friends, and also I've worked with them 10, 15 years. They were rude, yes, at first, but eventually I got in the door, I saved them from a crisis, and I became their knight in shining armor, and I worked for them for years. So get that mindset that you're there to help someone solve a problem and save them from a crisis. Number 8, be driven by the creative process and the craft and not how much money you can make. I have a lot of friends that I've rubbed elbows with over the years that were in photography, photographers, big studios, and they were in it for the money. Guess what? They're not around today. They weren't in it for the long haul because they were in it for the money, not because they were an artist and had a passion for the craft. So my advice to you is, yes, you can make a lot of money as a photographer, but that's not your goal. And art directors, art buyers, photo editors, if you're in it for the money, they'll see right through it. So My goal is that whether I'm getting paid $1,000 a day or $10,000 a day, I attack it at full throttle with the creative passion of getting an image that's going to rock. Doesn't matter how much money I'm going to get. Yes, I have to negotiate, and I want to be a shrewd negotiator, and I want to get paid what my time is worth. But in the end, the craft is more important than the money. Number 9, build a trustworthy brand. Your reputation will precede you. So number 1 is, when I go and I present myself to the marketplace, I want to do a couple things. Number 1, I want to be honest. I want to be on time, and I also want to never make a promise I can't deliver. So if someone says, we need these images by 2 o'clock on Friday, if I have to stay up all night Thursday night to get it done, to meet that promise, I'll do it. I know so many photographers that are completely, I don't know what it is, they just somehow don't get it. They're always late, they make promises they can't keep, and they wonder why they can't keep a client. So your reputation is follow you. It's a small industry, folks. If you don't pay your assistant on time or whatever, you wait 60, 90, some cases I've heard assistants waiting a year to get paid by a photographer. The talk of the town is going to happen. It's all going to come back. And pretty soon, next thing you know, nobody's going to hire you. No assistant wants to work for you. One of the things I do, and I've done for probably 30 years, is that on a photo shoot, I pay everyone. That day, I pay them. That way, I don't owe anyone any money. Now, to do that, I have to get money up front because I'm not going to finance a shoot for a client. But the point is once I do that, all these assistants, the makeup artists, the stylist, all these people that I've hired will go extra mile for me. They'll work hard. And then when it comes up for a photo shoot and they are double booked, or if there's a possibility it's double booked, they'll choose me because they know I pay them. So my reputation is everything. So don't go and ruin your reputation because you won't be working in this industry very long. Finally, number 10, set your sights on something that's beyond anything you believe possible. If you look at Ansel Adams, Edward Weston, Henry Cartier-Bresson, some of the great masters, what did they possess that you don't possess? How special were they in terms of, did they have some creative genius about them? I don't believe so. But I believe they set a goal and they set out and spent a lifetime achieving that goal. I started out as a 19-year-old going to college, and I decided that I wanted to be a photographer. I had no idea what that looked like, but I knew that I was going to stick with it. There was no plan B. I wanted to do and be a photographer and be an artist, and I plowed away. At all costs, I plowed away. There was times when I should have quit. I didn't quit. In 1989, I set out to do a coffee table book on the Navajo Indians. A very small percentage of photographers get to a point where they could do a coffee table book. But I set my goal to do that. It took me over 2 years, 400 days and nights, living out of a Volkswagen van to accomplish that book. In the end, I was flat broke. We were literally selling wedding gifts, my wife and I, to just pay our basic bills. But I believed that I could do that book. I didn't understand the cost in the beginning, and I probably was very naive taking on that project. But the point is set your goals high and go and achieve things you never thought possible or people around you never thought possible. There's a lot of naysayers. Prove them wrong. Well, there you have 10 steps on becoming a successful photographer. There could be a few that you could add or take away from there. My definition of success may be different than your definition of success. The one thing that I know is that for 40 years, I've made a living at this. I think that's pretty good success. How much money I made is not important. I just made a living. That's what's important. So if you want this 10 steps all in one place, I have a PDF that you can download, and you can go and put that on your iPad or your iPhone, and you can go and refer to it. And again, once again, my goal is that you achieve your dream, that you achieve things beyond anything you could have ever thought. And so be an artist, live your dream, and go create an income with it. So don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe and hit that little bell, and then you can keep up with all my current content.